Okay, I've had a nightmare here with space problems on my computer, so give me a second here. So I wanted to add this little podcast based on some information from a digital book called Becoming Human published by Scientific American. So basically it's a good example of how we move the timelines of putting together the story of human evolution that we have been looking at. So when new fossils are found, new sites, new locations, then we end up modifying the stories and so on. So this is published in 2013. This particular chapter or section of this digital book is called Stranger in a New Land. So this is a portrait of a pioneer with a brain half the size of a modern one and a brow reminiscent of Homo habilis. This hominid is one of the most primitive members of our genus on record. Paleoartist John Grush constructed this 1.75 million year old explorer from a nearly complete teenage Homo erectus skull and associated mandible found in Dmanisi in the Republic of Georgia. The background of the figure derived from two partial crania covered at the site here. So we have been discussing out of Africa, and we will continue to discuss that and the timing of it and some of the major conundrums, like why some of the hominin species appeared later in Europe than in Eurasia and so on. So digging Dmanisi, so this is where the excavations happened. Remains of the day. Excavations of Dmanisi's medieval city led to the discovery of the much older fossils. So far paleoanthropologists have thoroughly probed only 100 square meters of this site, which is estimated to span 11,000 square meters. So they hope to keep digging and find critical pieces like hip joints and so on, which will complete the story or add more details to the out of Africa story. So early Homo from Dmanisi. Here are two skulls, and here are two more. This is the modern Homo sapiens. Fossil troika hints at a variable Homo erectus. These specimens from Dmanisi exhibit characteristics Homo erectus features, such as a heaping up of bone along the midline of the skull, known as sagittal keel, and marked constriction of the skull behind the eyes. So you can see this. But they stop short of the classic morphology of that hominids in several ways. Their small brain size, for example, which was about half of a modern human, far right, so we are looking at modern human here. Specimen D2700, this one from a teenager, is especially primitive, resembling Homo habilis not only in size but in the thinness of the eyebrows. You're talking about details that are really amazing. The projections of its face and the rounded contour of the rear of the skull. Some researchers propose that these fossils might represent a new species of Homo. Others suggest that the remains belong to more than one species, pointing to the enormous lower jaw known as D2600 that was unearthed in 2000. So this is the lower jaw of D2600. Indeed, this mandible is far too large to fit comfortably with any of the crania yet described. Only D27 turned up with an associated mandible. So usually you only find this part. If you don't find this part, then you have to figure out where this belongs. So this is D2280, D2700, D2735 and D2600. So you can see how they track this. D2735 is the mandible associated with D27. The other fossils were isolated finds. For now, the Dmanisi team considers all the fossils as members of the same mutable species, Homo erectus. Okay, so here is the timelines that got slightly modified. Hominids on the move. The Dominici finds established that humans left Africa early, before 1.75 million years ago. Colonization of Eastern Asia occurred by 1.1 million years ago, but hominids do not appear to have reached Western Europe until far later. This is a mystery. Perhaps carnivore competitors or inhospitable climate hindered early settling in Western Europe, which appear much later. 1 million, 0.78 million here, 0.8 million here, and so on. And you can see the various numbers here. Bahr el Ghazi in Chad, 3 to 3.5 million years ago. South Africa, 2.5. Tanzania, 3.6. Hadar, Ethiopia, 3 to 3.4. Israel, 1 to 1.5. Dominici, Georgia, 1.75, and then later on into China at 1, Guangdong, China at 1.1, Rivat, Pakistan 2 million years ago, Jaya, Indonesia 1.8 million years ago, and so on. So these are Australopithecines, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, later Homo, stone tools found, hominid species unknown, and so on. So you can see how the storylines can change after new fossils are found and timing is established. Conventional paleoanthropological wisdom holds that the first humans to leave Africa were tall, large-brained people equipped with sophisticated stone tools who began migrating northward around 1 million years ago. Obviously, this timeline is now taken back with Georgia findings. New fossil discoveries in the Republic of Georgia are forcing scholars to rethink that scenario in its entirety. The remains are nearly 500,000 years older than hominid remains previously recognized as the most ancient outside of Africa. They are also smaller and accompanied by more primitive implements than expected. These finds raise questions of what prompted our ancestors to leave their natal land. They are also providing scientists with a array. The Google Drive is really driving me bonkers. I just bought a lot of space and it still keeps complaining. They're also providing scientists with a rare opportunity to study not just a single representative of early, but a population, which is always useful. These are Dominici side choppers and Acheulean hand axe. So stone tool trick. Until recently, experts believed that humans could not leave Africa until they had developed an advanced technology known as the Acheulean, in which tools were symmetrically shaped and standardized. And the tools found at Dominici, however, are simple flakes and choppers, manufactured according to much of the same primitive Oldowan tradition that hominids in Africa were practicing nearly 1 million years earlier. So this generally there is this mapping trying to be made between the sophistication, complexity, precision of the tools versus the species, their brain, their expertise in using the hands, and so on and so forth. So this leads to trimming the family tree. Experts vigorously debate just how many species of our genus Homo comprises. The bushiest representations of the Homo branch of the family tree contain up to 8 species, a number of which were evolutionarily dead ends here. Bushy branch for Homo, Homo habilis, Homo georgicus, rudolfensis, erectus, ergaster, and then it continues into sapiens, of course, with Homo heidelbergensis, and then the speciation or species succession happening into Neanderthalensis and sapiens here. Okay, other renditions appear as a streamlined succession of just a few forms, going here from the sleeker branch of Homo habilis erectus to sapiens. So you can see how much details are missing and how representations differ. The fossils from Dominici, categorized variously as Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo ergaster, and a new species Homo georgicus, could be compatible with the scenarios of substantial hominid diversity. Alternatively, the anatomical range evident in the Georgian remains could just underscore how variable a species can be. Viewed that way, some pruning may be in order. So maybe the whole lineages have to be reorganized. So just a minor point to be brought up that is critical to understand, that while we will continue to discuss the climate perturbations, out of Africa migrations, various speciations, there still holes to be filled, and there will be more fossils being found elsewhere. Still happens in Africa, various other parts of the world. So I'll just try to keep track of those as new papers come out. Till then, we'll just keep going forward with the out of Africa migrations and colonizations elsewhere. Okay.